Have you ever been given a new data set at work and you have to do data exploration and you have no idea where to get started? Well, let me show you how a professional does it. So here I am in Tableau desktop and I've got a data set here. This is in the description below if you want to follow along. And say I'm looking at this for the first time. The idea is we're going to have a play with the data set and have a look at what fields are going to be in there. One of the first things you do is when you come in here, you're going to see this button. Okay, and that is the View Data button. It's going to open up really small as it always does, which I wish Tableau would fix. And you're going to see all the fields. Now, it's very difficult to figure out exactly what to do. So it's one of those, you kind of have to jump in, do some visualizations, and get a rough understanding of what you're dealing with, especially when the data sets have a lot of fields, have a lot of rows. And from here, I can see, okay, some categories, there's some location stuff. We have some customer IDs and some orders. So I'm already getting the feeling this is a transaction-based data set. We do have some unique IDs, some order IDs, product IDs, which tells me most likely this data set comes from somewhere where there's another data set with product IDs and order IDs that we can use to connect and relate data sets with. We have a row ID count here, which is going to make it very easy for me to manage the data. We have regional data, we have segments, we have locations, and the measures we have are all around sales. So it's clearly a transaction-based data set. So let's have now a play. What I tend to do is I'll look at this and say, well, let's come up with some research questions that we can try and answer, and more just to get an understanding of the data set. Let's have a look at the products by location, for example. So let's start with region. Let's go in here. So clearly the data set's already pretty clean. So I know I'm not going to have to do a lot of data cleansing based on this so far. Let's have a look at sales. So I bring it into columns and I'm going to add the label up here. And I'm not going to be super fancy with the styling at this stage because we're just trying to get familiar with it. Here we can see that sales are pretty good, but what's interesting is if they're actually profitable. So let's drop profit into columns. And you can see that there's actually two regions that are quite small. So if I expand this a little, you can see it's central and south. So what I tend to do is I will add a little bit of color just so I get a rough understanding of what everything looks like. So I can drop profit into color. And right away, it jumps at me that these lighter colors are somewhat of a concern. So let's have a look at these smaller ones. The way I do it is this visualization is almost kind of starting the story, which is, hey, which regions are profitable? That's the first one. So we're actually going to retain this and duplicate it, right? And you'll see why I do that in a second. You can either press this button up here to duplicate the sheet, or you can right click here on the bottom and go duplicate. Same thing. I'm going to duplicate it. And now I'm going to perform my next layer of analysis. So we're going to filter central and I'm going to hold control, select south and go keep only. And what I want to do now is break this down a little bit further. Because we're interested in profit, we also don't need sales. So we can get rid of that now. Then we're going to have a look at what's inside this. So because this is transaction based, we can start to try and categorize this. I'm going to move region into columns. So we can split it up like this. And I'm going to bring in category and subcategory. And you can see there's already some interesting things coming up. Central seems to have a lot more unprofitable segments or categories than south. So really central is now becoming our focus. Once we've reached a point where we go, okay, that's interesting, we duplicate and repeat. That's how we do it. So I'm going to right click here and we're going to go duplicate. Once we duplicate, we can dig further. We're only interested in central. So we're going to click central, keep only. We're not interested in south anymore. We're only interested in the ones that are not profitable. So the easiest way to filter that is you can either sort it using this button, one of these, and you can manually select them, right? Or you can do, well, you didn't really have to do that, but in some cases you do. You can highlight and filter, or we can bring profit into filters and filter it that way. So if I go profit, drop it into filters, sum, and I'm going to go, it has to be at most, it can be $0 at most. So if I hit apply, you're going to see we've now isolated these negative ones, okay? From here to here. Because we've done that, it's a significant step. We duplicate. Right click, duplicate. So I'm putting myself in the position of the stakeholder, go, well, that's interesting. What's next? Well, we need to know what products are actually underneath this. So we can bring in product name and drop it here into rows. And let's have a look at which products are actually performing badly. So if I come here, you're going to see there's a lot of data points. What I'm actually interested in is the worst ones, right? Because they're the ones that are causing me the most grief, okay, if I'm the business owner. So how do we actually filter for those ones? Well, you can do it instantly, but because I'm teaching, let me show you how I would explain it. If you go up here, you're going to see these ones right here. And we're going to sort it, and I can never remember which one's which. Okay, it's that one. So the first one, on the basically that middle one, sorts it from highest to lowest in this case because we're dealing in negatives. Now you can see there's actually a lot. I want to take the top 5 in every single subcategory. Now, it's a little bit tricky for beginners, but here's how we do it, and I'm going to do it in a number of steps. First, I'm going to bring profit into the columns. Okay, none of this is going to make sense until it does. Watch. Sum of profit. So basically, we now have the 2 measures duplicated. I'm going to right click the second profit. I'm going to go quick table and apply a rank. And when I do that, it is looking at it by value, what the lowest value is, and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. But we wanted to do it in a certain way. Firstly, we're doing it by pane. And what that means is per subcategory. Right, so it's like localized, I guess, if you will. So in order to do that, we're going to right click here and go compute using pane down. And when you do that, you'll see the pattern that we're looking for, which is basically a straight line. Okay, because it's going 1, 2, 3, 4. But it's in reverse because the worst ones are actually up here. So I'm going to right click, edit. We're going to go ascending. You can see now it's actually reversed itself. And for the competition, we're going to go unique. And the only reason for that is sometimes you have some measures that are exactly the same, right? For minus $300, minus 300. And the way ranking works is it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5 because they're the same number. So by applying unique, it's a unique rank. Okay. By the way, I teach all of this in hyper detail on my website, all the quick table stuff, all the deep dive analysis, a crazy amount of stuff if you want to learn in a course-based way. Okay, so we're going to close this off now. And you can see we now have a ranking for every category, right? Isn't that cool? All right, we're not done yet. We're now going to filter for the top 5 in every category. And the way we do that is if I take this profit, oops, wrong tool. If I take this profit and drop it in here, and then I filter for up to rank 5, it will do that filter. But the trick is you have to hold control because we're going to duplicate this pill into here. So I'm going to hold control, click this one, and move it into filters, like so. And now we can say at most rank 5. Hit apply. And now we can see for every category what the top 5 is. Now that it's done its job, we don't need this one. We can get rid of it. Now we can see in every category which one the worst performing ones are. And I can actually see some of these actually aren't that bad. So fastener is actually not bad, so we can exclude this. This one is not that bad. So some of them which aren't that bad, we can get rid of. Accessories, phones. Okay, this one I would say is not that bad. And I would say that's kind of that's probably our list there. So I'll go entire view. So now this is the end of my story. So I can basically now compile this into maybe a dashboard or a set of story points and explain to a stakeholder very quickly, all right, I analyzed the data. We focused on Central and South because they had the lowest profits. From there, we go, well, let's have a look at the categories. And we said, well, there's a number of these categories that aren't performing well. Let's have a look at those. So then we go, let's isolate it. It appears to be these subcategories. And when we went down to the product names, these are the worst performing ones, and we recommend maybe you get rid of these products or make a change. Okay, so that's one avenue of deep dive analysis from start to finish, right? And we tend to do this, like I'm a professional analyst, I've been doing it for more than 10 years. They give us a new data set, and we will do this a number of times in a number of different directions to get a good feel for the data set, but also to go back to the stakeholder with some initial points of interest, because they're probably going, this is all the data from our systems and we have no idea how our business is going. This is a great way for them to find out very quickly what is happening. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.